Can we start?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me properly?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
That earlier problem is there, Rupali?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Now it's okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we were discussing about unemployment, right? So few things which we were left out as related to Labor Bureau survey we need to discuss. We need to discuss also the types of employment and unemployment. The different types of unemployment, you can get question from that. And when we discuss about employment like formal, informal employment, I'll briefly talk about that also. So any doubt related to the measurement of unemployment, we have discussed about UPS, UPSS, usual principal status, usual principal subsidiary status. Then we have discussed about current weekly status and current daily status. So I've told you the NSSO data for each of these. Any doubts in this measurement? Measurement
sir.
of unemployment?
No, sir. No doubt.
Okay.
No, sir.
So you give a heading. Now we will discuss about Labor Bureau's 5th Annual Employment or Unemployment Survey 2015-16. Labor Bureau's 5th Annual Employment or Unemployment Survey 2015-16. This is very helpful in understanding few situations. Okay, so I need a table here. I'll draw the table. You can also draw along with me. LFPR. What is LFPR?
Labor force participation rate.
Labor force participation rate we have discussed yesterday. WPR. What is this?
Weekly.
Worker population ratio. I'll discuss it today now itself. Then PU. Any idea? At least what is this UR?
Unemployed rate.
Unemployment rate, yeah. Okay. So rural, 1 column. Urban, 1 column. Total, 1 column. Then we need one for male and female. We will also see the gender disparity. Okay. So yeah, before we move on to this table, you just write what is LFPR, labor force participation rate. Okay, that we have already done, right? So then you write WPR. WPR. What is labor force participation rate? Can somebody tell me?
So labor force by total population into 100.
Yeah, labor force divided by total population into 100. What is labor force?
Workforce plus number of unemployed.
Labor force equal to workforce plus number of
unemployed.
Now, can we say you are unemployed?
No, sir.
No.
Because
So
I'm not
everybody
willing.
will not come. It is between the age of 15 to 59, right?
Yes,
Labor force. Yesterday we have discussed, when we discussed about NSSO, it is between 15 to 59. And in this age group, those who are willing and able to work at the prevailing wage rate. If you are not willing to work, if you are studying, you cannot be treated as unemployed even you are coming in this age category. So involuntary unemployment only will be considered as unemployment. Voluntary unemployment, we decide that we are not going to work. Either we are not getting the salary which is required, or we are going for education or something else. So that is not considered as unemployment. Okay. So you must be available as part of labor force. So labor force means it is already people who are working and number of people who are searching for job, but those people who didn't get job. That's what number of unemployed. Now, when it comes to labor bureau, here this age group, there is slight difference will be there. It is everything above 15 years. Everybody above 15 years. So there is no upper limit. So what do you think here? Unemployment will be more or less?
More.
Here unemployment will be obviously more because labor force is more. Okay, even the person who is having age of 80, if he is willing to work and able to work at the prevailing wage rate, he will also be part of labor force. 90 also, if he is willing, part of labor force. Okay, so now you can write WPR, right? WPR, total work. This is worker population ratio. So worker population ratio. So what will it be? It will be worker divided by total population, right? Total worker divided by total population. This part, this working force, worker by total population into 100. Okay. Then what about PU? Proportion unemployed. Proportion unemployed. PU proportion unemployed. What is that? That is this portion, no? Number of unemployed, you can write there, unemployed divided by total population into 100. Okay. So basically, this WPR is this one coming from this workforce by total population. Labor force divided by total population is what? LFPR. If you take this, that is WPR. If you take this divided by total population, that is proportion unemployed. Okay. So can I say if you add these two, you will get this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, if you add these two, you will get this because one is related to this and one is related to this. Okay. Then one more unemployment rate that we have already discussed yesterday, number of unemployed. So then what is the difference between proportion unemployed and unemployed rate? If numerator is same, what should be the difference? What is the difference between proportion unemployed and unemployment rate?
Sir, in unemployment rate, labor force will be denominator.
Yeah, denominator is changing, right? Proportion unemployed, denominator is the total population only. Here it will be the labor force. That means this portion. Okay. And what is labor force rate, LFPR as per NSSO? Yesterday we discussed
36%.
3.30.
36%, not 3 point. That is unemployment rate. 36% we have discussed. So what do you think here? Labor force will be more or less? Labor force will be more or less.
So less.
Why?
It will be more because it's considering only labor force in the denominator.
It will be more, no? Here
Yeah,
labor force is more.
Yes,
Total population remain the same in both cases, NSSO and here, but here labor force is more. Why? Above 15, everybody is coming. So here labor force participation rate is more than NSSO in labor bureau's case. The main reason is what? The age group is 15 and above, more than 15. NSSO 15 to 59. So obviously more. So here under total LFPR, I'm going to write 50.2. 50.2. Okay. Why it is more? Earlier 36, now it is 50 because of this difference only. There is no need to have any confusion. Then WPR total is 47.8. Worker population ratio. That means total workers divided by total population into 100. So can anyone tell me from these two what is PU? It is simple math.
12.4.
Yeah, it is this difference, no? Because WPR plus PU, you should get LFPR. So this difference, that is 2.4, 2.5 actually. So then can someone tell me this? What should be the unemployment rate? Again, simple maths. Very simple mathematical calculation only. By knowing this, I can tell this. I'll give you a clue. By knowing proportion unemployed and by knowing labor force participation rate, I can tell.
So 5.
5. How?
So double.
Yeah, see here, proportion unemployed, if you see, numerator is unemployed. In unemployment rate also, numerator is unemployed. Okay, but in case of proportion unemployed, the denominator is total population. Here the denominator is labor force. Now, if you further look here, what is the labor force? 50.2. That means 50% is the labor force. If population is 100, 50 is the labor force. If population is 1 crore, 50 lakhs is the labor force. So half will be the labor force. So when the denominator is half, what will happen with the actual value? It will double. Let's say 100 by 4. 100 by 4, instead of this 4, what is 100 by 4? 25, right? So let's suppose total population is 4. Okay, now labor force is 50% of 4. So 100 by 2, what will happen? Actually happening, this is doubled, right? So I can easily write here. Otherwise also I'm going to give you the original value anyway, but I'm saying by knowing these two, you can actually write these two. Simple math only this. 5. Because LF is labor force is half of population. So here denominator was population, here the denominator was LF. Since denominator is half, the actual value will be double. Is this okay? That's not important. You understood this calculation or not is not important at all. Okay, so that is least significant only. Okay, now here I'll give you this rural urban also 53, 43.5. Now from this, what you can interpret rural urban difference? What can you say here? Look at the number and tell me what is there to think more. Where is it more?
In rural area.
Rural,
Why,
sir.
why in rural area it is more?
Because more people are engaged in agriculture there.
No. I'm
The
talking
age
about labor force. Labor force means who are ready to work. Unemployed will
The
be
age
also
group
part of that. No?
plays a role, sir. I said the age group because people who are older
Because
also.
I've told you yesterday, you people are not part of labor force. Why? You are in education, etc. But in rural areas, that may not be the case. Everybody is willing. After 15, most of the people are, willing and able to work. That's why they are part of labor force. So that's why more labor force from rural area. But if you see worker population ratio, here it is 50.4 and here it is 41.4. Here also it is more. That means more jobs are in rural area. Is that possible? Where you find more job opportunities and more jobs in rural or urban?
Urban.
Urban. Then why this worker population ratio is more in rural?
So prevailing wage rate is a factor?
No, not prevailing wage rate. All the people will be accommodated in agriculture.
Agriculture is considered.
Okay, so even though small amount of land, one person can work in that land, but 10% will be accommodated. For example, a joint family is having 10 members, all the 10 members are working in a piece of land. Even one person can also work there. So actually the marginal productivity is 0 over there. But everybody is considered as employed. Okay?
So is it disguised unemployment?
Yeah, that is disguised unemployment. I'll discuss that. Disguised unemployment, in fact, the question was asked, what is disguised unemployment? It is marginal productivity is 0. That means, let's suppose from this land, let's say 5 quintal is actually produced. Output is 5 quintal. Okay. So let's say 5 people can produce this 5 quintal. Now, even though 10 more people are added in this, do you think more production will happen? No. So effectively, this 10 people is actually considered as unemployed only. So why? Because their marginal productivity is 0 here. Even this 5 will make this. So this 10 is unemployed actually. That is what disguised unemployed. We'll discuss that. Okay, now proportion unemployed 2.7. You can write this down: 2.7, 2.1, 5.1, and 4.9. So if you see unemployment rate here, what you need to know is in rural, it is slightly more than urban. Like in case of poverty also, in rural, it is slightly more than urban. Unemployment also slightly more than urban. So just understand the trend. Now here unemployment rate, if you see, is there any problem here when you compare it with NSSO? What was the unemployment rate with NSSO? Basically, we will talk about UPSS. What was unemployment rate under UPSS? 2.7, right? Usual principal subsidiary status that we discussed, 2.7, no? What value I've given you yesterday?
Yes, sir. 2.7.
2.7. So it's almost double. Why it is double? Because labor force is almost so high. Okay. Understood. Now you talk about male and we will talk about male and female. So here, when you talk about labor force, out of the total, 75% is male, or 75% of male are part of labor force, and 23% of female only. So here itself, you can see a significant gender disparity. What do you think is the reason here? Because most of the women are engaged in the non-paid work, household activities. Okay. So actually, they are not part of labor force. If you're not part of labor force, how can you get a job? Okay. Now, if you see WPR, 72.1 in case of male, this is 21.7 expected. Then proportion unemployed, 3, 2.1. Proportion unemployed. Unemployment rate, here it is 4, here it is 8.7. Why unemployment rate is so high? Because they are not even searching for job also. So that is there. Okay, this is clear now. You can write this in mains. This is basically for mains. Nobody is going to ask you this question in prelims. So labor force is very, very less because mostly engaged in the household activities. Now I'll give you one more data here. There was a time use survey. It was there in economic survey also. Time use survey. That means in number of hours. Okay. So I need a table again. Men's share in paid work. No, I'm saying they are even not searching for the job. So even the available female also, they will not be getting jobs, maybe because of qualification. Okay, there are many issues connected to this. There are glass ceiling effect. So many issues are there. If they are not searching for job, obviously they are not part of labor force. So that cannot be the only reason for unemployment, but you can connect it. They are not even searching for jobs. So even those who are available for work, people may not be ready to accommodate them because of a lot of issues. Maternal benefits have to be provided. Even if they are not working, they have to give salary. All these issues are there. Okay, so people may not prefer, the employees may not prefer female, especially, organized sector, even they are not unnecessarily, they need to pay during that maternity benefit period also, especially after the law. Okay, so that is also a reason. Men share in paid work, this is in hours. Okay, then women share in unpaid work. Okay, so you can make a column like this. We will see the world and average and India. Okay, so in case of India, what do you think this 1.8 times in world? So what I mean to say is men's share in paid work is 1.8 times more than women's share in paid work. Okay, and women's share in unpaid work, if you see, it is 3 times more than men's share in unpaid work. What do you mean by this unpaid work? Household activities. Correct, no? You understood this?
Yes, sir.
Any problem here? What do you think this first, now this one, India's case, will it be more or less? Men's share in paid work Is 1.8 world average? Do you think, what do you think? Will be less or more in India?
So more.
It will be more a patriarchal society. So it is basically 2.2 times than women. What about this? Women's share in unpaid work? More or less?
So again, more.
So what do you think approximately what will be the approximate, if this is 3, what do you think will be here?
Around 4 to 5.
Can you make any guess?
4 to 5.
So at least double that of the world.
So 4 to 5.
Any other guess?
4.5.
Your essay, any women related question, any normal unemployment related question, you can. Ten times, that means 33 hours. 10 times means 30. Or 10 times, okay. This is 3 times, so you need to say 10 times. And you are very, very close, 9.6. Ritika. This is 9.6. Okay, so actually you can use this, not in table, you can use this data in your essays. And always remember, when it comes to this mains UPSC exam, women is always a good marketable item. Women and Gandhi. If you can write all these things about Gandhi also, if you can praise and if you can write in a good way, you will get mark. Okay. I'm saying you should have proper knowledge, then you can write it properly and you can fetch mark. I'm saying, when I'm saying marketable item means you can get mark easily. Okay. So next topic is types of unemployment. Types of unemployment. Okay, now you can start writing. First one, disguised or hidden unemployment. Disguised or hidden unemployment. It is a situation in which more people are employed in an activity. More people are employed in an activity than actually or optimally required. Than actually or optimally required. The marginal product of such workers is zero. The marginal product of such workers is zero. When you say marginal productivity of such workers is zero means what? The production will not be affected even if you remove those people. I've given you an example now. For example, this land, 5 people, whatever they produce, only the same, even if you are 10 people will produce. So if you remove these people, then also production remain the same. That's what you mean by marginal productivity is zero. Underline that marginal productivity. Marginal product is zero, not marginal productivity. Marginal productivity is also correct. Marginal product. This is what actually asked as a prelims question. That word is what they've asked. Okay. So mainly related to which sector? Mainly related to agriculture sector in developing countries. Do you think developed countries this problem will be there? No. So it is a problem of developing countries and problem of agriculture sector. No other sector can accommodate as much as agriculture can accommodate. That's the reason why, despite the fact that only 14-15% contribution in GDP, but close to 60% in employment. Okay, next is open unemployment. Open unemployment is the same definition that I've actually given to you. Okay, so you can write there, it is a situation where a person is willing and able to work. A person who is willing and able to work could not find a job. Could not find a job. Okay, this is a normal definition. Third one, you write structural unemployment. Structural unemployment. It is caused due to structural deficiencies of an economy. Structural deficiencies of an economy, like scarcity of capital, comma, lack of skills, comma, immobility of labor, etc. Okay, so it is basically because of the problem of structural deficiencies. Third one, you write seasonal unemployment. Third or fourth? Yeah, fourth one, seasonal unemployment. It exists during lean seasons. It exists during lean seasons. Where is it common? In agriculture, okay? Previous one, is it that which one? Structural unemployment related to developed or developing countries? Structural
Developing
deficiencies, developing countries. Okay, you can write in bracket developing countries, the previous one. So here, common in developing countries, okay, but not only confined to agriculture. This is related to agriculture, but not only confined to agriculture. Like, for example, the case of ice cream. In summer, the demand for ice cream will be more, but in winter it will be less. Similarly, woolen clothes, right? All these are depending on the season. So it is also related to mostly developing countries only, especially those agriculture things. Okay. Next is cyclical unemployment. Cyclical unemployment. It exists during recessionary phase of a business cycle. It exists during recessionary phase of a business cycle. Business cycle means what? I'll discuss about this later. This is basically ups and downs in business. Okay, ups and downs in business. So about which countries I'm talking about when we talk about business cycle? Developing or developed?
Developed.
So both
Yeah, so this is more important in developed countries. Developing countries, it's not prominent. The business cycle and all is not prominent. Every time it is the same. Okay, so ups and downs is basically caused due to demand. Okay, more demand, less demand, etc. Do you think there is a deficiency of demand in any developing countries? Developing countries, there is no deficiency of demand. Okay, so there is no problem of demand. Demand is the problem of developed countries. And that's why this various measures, we will discuss about all the measures which is done by the government of those countries, quantitative easing, tapering of the quantitative easing, all these things we'll discuss later. But understand this is a problem of developed countries. Sixth one, key nation unemployment. Key nation unemployment. So right there, it is named after J.M. Keynes. When we discuss about those Great Depression, I'll talk about Keynes in detail. Okay, so J.M. Keynes, you write this unemployment. It is caused due to deficiency of aggregate demand in the economy. It is caused due to deficiency of aggregate demand in the economy. Okay, so is there any difference between 5 and 6? Here I've talked about recession. Here I am talking about aggregate demand. Here also I talked about demand only. So is there any difference between these two?
So what is aggregate demand?
Aggregate demand is a macroeconomic concept. Like when we discuss about microeconomics concept like demand, here the quantity demanded, and we have discussed about demand curve and supply curve, right? And this is the equilibrium position that we have seen. So here we have taken prices. But when it comes to macroeconomy, like for when we discuss about inflation, etc., on the x-axis we go for national income, and on the y-axis we will go for average prices or price level. Okay, and then we will go for aggregate demand, the total demand of the entire economy, and aggregate supply. I'll discuss about this in detail when we discuss about inflation, etc. Now, don't break your head on this. Aggregate demand is basically demand only, but the entire demand of the economy. Okay, so from microeconomy to macroeconomic concept, that's it. Here it is quantity instead of quantity. Here it is entire total income of the country. Here only price, here entire price levels. Because inflation, when we measure, that is actually a macroeconomic concept. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So entire demand is taken, entire supply of the economy is taken, and entire income is taken, and average price level is taken. Here, these are supply, demand, and quantity and price. This is a microeconomic simple concept. Okay. So here, what is the difference between 5 and 6? Or at least, can you tell me which one is broader, which one is wider?
So Keynesian and unemployment.
See, Keynesian, but recession can be due to anything. One of the factors what demand. The recent crisis, it was due to bank crisis, no, 2008 recession. So recession can be of anything. So unemployment, which happens during the period of recession, is the cyclical unemployment. That is actually broader. In that also demand can come. For example, 1929 depression was due to the problem of demand. I'll discuss this in detail later. And whatever measures government was doing, it was not able to tackle the problem of 1929 depression. Later, actually, Keynes identified that the problem was because of demand, and then governments went for fiscal stimulus like quantitative easing, etc., and were able to solve the problem. I will discuss in detail in all technical way when it comes to our last module. Okay, all the crisis, subprime crisis, everything we will discuss. So here, he identified the problem was with demand. So 1929 depression, that was due to demand, but recent recession was due to bank crisis, right? Subprime crisis. So what I'm saying is recession can be due to anything. Sorry, if recession can be due to anything means this is more wider. Cyclical is more wider. Keynesian is only due to demand. Since Keynes identified in 1929, it was because of demand. That is what Keynesian unemployment. Okay. Any confusion? Okay, next is frictional unemployment. Frictional unemployment. Frictional unemployment, or between the jobs unemployment. Frictional unemployment or between the jobs unemployment. Okay, what about Keynesian unemployment, where you will see developing or developed?
Developed.
Where you will see that?
Developed countries.
Developed, because problem of demand will never be there in developing countries. Problem of supply will be in where? Developing countries.
Yeah.
In developed countries, there will not be problem of supply, overproduction, but the problem is with demand. Okay. Okay. So frictional unemployment or between the jobs unemployment. So right there, it is temporary unemployment. It is a temporary unemployment which exists during shifting of labor, which exists during shifting of labor shifting of labor from one occupation to other, from one occupation to another. Okay, so you take a break, no, like you are doing some job, now you are searching for some other job, you are not satisfied with this job. So that break is what? Frictional unemployment. What do you think? Where it will be more, developing or developed?
The developed countries.
Developed countries. Why?
So because here there is more employment opportunities.
Yeah, there is in developed countries there is more employment opportunities, and you can search for a job by making sure that you will get job later, even if you skip the job. But in developing countries, if you leave the existing job, there is no guarantee that you'll get another job. So this is basically common in developed countries, frictional unemployment. Okay, you can't leave job in developing country for searching for another job. What people will do? People will stay in the existing occupation, like you crack some exam first, and then you make sure that you have a job, and then you will start preparing for civil services or better. Like that, you stay there. Either you go for leave, something like that, but you will never leave the job, right? Next is technological unemployment. Technological unemployment. It is caused due to adoption of labor saving technology. It is caused due to adoption of labor saving technology. So if you remember post 91, that post reform time, I've told you unemployment increased, right? And I've told you it is because of capital intensive investment and not labor intensive investment. And that's what actually happened. The adoption of technology which is requiring less labor. So labor saving technologies was there more. Next one. Migrant workers who temporarily work in rural area in lockdown. Means what you want to ask here? Their unemployment, that is situational unemployment, structural unemployment, because you are not in a position to work now. Or those are worst case scenario. You cannot define those kinds of unemployment. Not fictional, frictional I'm talking about. Frictional, okay, not fictional. But how is it fictional or frictional? Because you are not looking for another job. It is because of the compulsion you are not able to work. No, you are locked down. You mean to say the migrant workers who locked in some states, right? They're not able to work because it is a situation. Okay. Next, ninth, no? 8 is completed. 9, educational unemployment. Educational unemployment. It is a situation in which an educated and trained person failed to find a job. Educated and trained person failed to find a job. So if you see the case of India, which one among this is more is there? We can say structural unemployment and disguised unemployment is what you can see in India. Structural unemployment is because of the deficiencies in structural situations like deficiencies in capital, etc. That is one case. And then most of the laborers are actually accommodated in agriculture. So India's case, these two. And from 3 to 9, everything is actually open unemployment. Okay. Now, right. Educational unemployment also there, but disguised unemployment is more, and deficiency of capital is also more. And all these reasons for educational unemployment is people are not ready to accommodate them. That is because of the structural situations. No, you need improvement in structure. Technological unemployment, we can't say in developed. In both, you can see developed also labor saving technologies there. When it comes to developing, you will see more over there. The main problem, developed almost, they are accommodated to it. And there are a lot of job opportunities also. And even developed countries are ready to accommodate the migrant workers from other countries also. The job opportunities, there is no problem there. But in developing countries, when the technology is coming, then there will be a problem. Even the existing job opportunities will also be not there. So that will result into unemployment. So I would say if you compare, the more problems with developing, but developed also will affect with that. But for them, it is considered okay, desirable, as there are more opportunities out there. Okay? Yeah. Types of unemployment. No, sorry. Types of unemployment is what we have done. Now you write types of employment. Types of employment. Types of employment. Okay. So under, you can write first one, formal employment. Formal employment. Under this, there is a job security of workers. There is a job security for workers along with employment related benefits. Along with employment related benefits like, you know, pension, NPS, PF, etc. Okay, insurance, medical allowance, all these things. So there is a job security of workers along with employment related benefits. Second, formal employment. Sorry, informal employment. Formal is done, informal employment. So basically the opposite. There is no job security. There is not much benefit. The daily laborers, etc. Okay. Third one, you write organized sector employment. Organized sector employment. It includes workers working in organized sector. It includes workers working in organized sector. Okay. It includes workers working in organized sector. What about the type there? Is it formal or informal in organized sector? Formal or informal?
Formal.
Formal.
Formal. Only formal? It can be formal plus informal. Both can be there in organized sector, right? So like normal salaried workers will be there who's having job security. At the same time, you know, the lower level jobs also will be there, which is informal. For example, when you talk about TCS or any company, they're organized. Like if you're paying GST, if you're paying tax, you're organized, no? So in that you can see both formal and informal you can see. Okay, unorganized sector employment, not properly regulated. Okay, labor laws are not fully applicable, etc. Unorganized sector employment. So proper records will not be there. So here mostly it will be totally informal. But maybe one or two formal employment will be there, but still we will not say that. We don't want to say that. Mostly informal. Next, you write contractual employment. Contractual employment. Employment for a specified time period under specified terms and conditions. Employment for a specified time period under specified terms and conditions. Okay. So it will be like usually short term, like contractual employment for 6 months, one year, etc. It will be short term. So if you compare formal, informal, and contractual. So can you arrange this in terms of the job security? Which one will come top first?
Formal, then contractual,
Formal, then
contractual, then informal.
Yeah, then contractual, because at least during the contractual period there is a job security. And informal, no time job security is there. Okay, so you can arrange like this: formal, more security, then contractual, and then informal, like this it will go. Next, you write casual employment. Casual employment. So it basically depends on the need of the firm. Okay. So here employees may not have the systematic working hours, or there will not be regular jobs, etc. So that you can write, it depends on the need of the company, need of the firm. I'll give you some data, NSSO data, NSSO 2011-12, all the employment, unemployment data that we are using 2011-12. Okay, so I need a table here. Organized sector, unorganized, total. Okay, and then here this side, formal, informal, and total. So if you see organized sector, the formal unemployment is like so organized sector, it's 8%. Informal, it is 9%. So in organized sector, the total is 17%. So what do you think unorganized? It will be 83, right? This will be 83. Okay. Now, so this is 8, right? 8 is here. So this has to be 100. So if this need to be 100, this informal has to be 92. We are not writing anything here. Here, unorganized, I'm not under unorganized, I'm not writing any formal here. Okay. So this 83 I'm putting here. So organized sector, this is so 17% people are actually in organized. That is what you need to know. 17% in organized, 83% unorganized, and within organized, 8% are formal. Okay, and if you see 9% within organized is informal. So out of the total, if you see, out of 100%, 8% only in formal sector. Okay, now do you know why this informalization of job is actually happening? Informal, you can write there one word, informalization of labor force. Informalization, this is a mains question, this was a mains question, informalization of labor force. You need to explain with this actually. Why this informalization of labor force is actually happening is because, you see, you are actually compromising everything for this 8%. The labor laws are so rigid, and you know, once you employ a person in the formal sector, it is very difficult to remove him, okay, or to dismiss him. If the management want to, even if they want to, they cannot dismiss him. Such is the problem with labor laws in India. Okay, so 8%, for the 8% people, you're actually, you know, compromising with this 92%. And what the firms will do, firms never want such formalization. So if you take it, you know, in terms of formal jobs, you'll get all the job security, all the privileges. Even if you just do a termination or a dismiss or anything, this employees can go to court, and ultimately you will win the case only. And you know what is actually going to happen in the courts? It will take long time, and all these areas have to be given by these people. Okay, so that lead to informalization, because firms don't want formal employees. Only those key posts they will maintain in terms of formal employment. Otherwise, they will give the job security also for those people. Others you won't give. And if you are becoming this, especially if you're coming into this civil service, when you talk about all India service rules, it will be very difficult. Once you enter into service, then nobody can take you out of it. Whatever happens, so it is so rigid and labor rules are so tough. It is actually in favor of the, you know, this employed person. Okay, so the employee will suffer here. Employee actually cannot take a decision. Even if take a decision, this person can challenge. Okay, so the challenge will start from administrative tribunal. In case of all India service, it is CAT. You might have studied that in polity. In case of state services, there will be state administrative tribunals. Okay, and in case of industries, there will be industrial tribunals. So right from tribunal, then to a high court, and then to Supreme Court. And if you challenge the first in CAT or any tribunal, then you challenge in High Court, then you challenge in Supreme Court. And in Supreme Court, that if this person is winning means you have to pay the entire salary and all these backlogs to that person. So that will be a big problem. That's why you cannot see such terminations, etc., in the formal sector. So that is the reason for this informalization of labor force. So why informalization is happening? Because firms want to be on a safer side. That means if they are not satisfied with an employee, if he is not working properly, or if he's misbehaving, misconduct is there, you can terminate that person easily. If it is informal, if it is formal, that is not possible. So only those people whom they consider good or whom they consider necessary for the organization, the top post will be formal in the organized sector. That's why only 8% employment is formal. And out of this, mostly will be from government side. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's about informalization of labor force in India. So actually, I've answered this particular question here. Rather than talking about this particular table, this particular question was actually what we have addressed here. I'm expecting that you understood. So the rigid labor laws is the problem of informal labor force. So you can write one line over there. The rigid labor laws is the reason for informalization of labor force, because firms will be having some problem in taking any actions. Like you're actually compromising this 92% informal working population for this only 8%. Okay, now you write another heading: causes of unemployment. Causes of unemployment. First one, high growth rate of population and labor force. High growth rate of population and labor force. High growth rate of population and labor force. 2, inappropriate educational system. Inappropriate educational system, and or that is lack of emphasis on vocational education. Lack of emphasis on vocational education, training, skill development, etc. Lack of emphasis on vocational education, training, skill development, etc. So we will discuss about various schemes for this: vocational training, skill development schemes, etc. We'll discuss. Okay. Next one, failure of trickle down. Failure of trickle down. You remember Kuznets hypothesis that we have discussed? What will happen? How inequalities will increase initially and later will come down when per capita income increase. So this is inequality. So actually trickle down will happen. Initially, some people will get benefit, the capitalist benefit, and inequality increase. But later trickle down happen. But for this, it will take time, right? It will take some time for this trickle down happen. So any developed countries, if you take, it took time for that trickle down. So we can't say trickle down is the failure. Rather, we were not waiting. That's the problem. Next is inadequate employment planning. Inadequate employment planning.
So, shall we write then failure of trickle down, or?
Yeah, we can write failure of trickle down rather than writing completely failure of trickle down. I hope you understood what I mean to say. It is not here in India. There is a problem of trickle down. Why? Okay. Because it takes time. Our assumption was it will trickle down everywhere. Even when we discuss about history, when we discuss about macula minute, okay. When we discuss about history, also we were talking about trickle down theory. Trickle down means you throw something to top. It will obviously come down.
Okay.
Right? But it will take time. That is a problem. So in macula minute also, you are talking about you educate 1% of the Indians, and then they will teach rest of the others in vernacular language. But it will take time. Normally, for trickle down to happen, it will take time. But in India, it's not happened even now also. So it's a failure of trickle down.
Okay,
if you need to support that, you can say that it take time. Otherwise, you can simply say the failure of trickle down. We went for reform by expecting trickle down, but it never happened. Both you can say. You can support also, you can say this as the reason also.
Clear.
We can see in some textbook as support of this also, like trickle down will take some time. We can't say trickle down as a reason, but many textbook will say trickle down didn't happen.
Okay, sir.
See, again, economy is a social science. So whenever you see in prelims options like may, etc., you can as the answer without any doubt. Mild tone answer choice is always correct. Like if you see these words must, should, only, as soon as you see this, you can eliminate it. Those are standard wrong choices in economy. But some cases it will be sure you know that it may happen, it should happen, it will happen, etc. Will all these are strong tones. If you see this, you can simply eliminate it in economy. It will never happen. Okay.
Okay, sir. Clear.
So what we said, inadequate employment planning. Next is inappropriate technology. Inappropriate technology. Comma, capital intensive investment. Capital intensive investment, especially after reforms. Especially after reforms. Next point, low elasticity of employment in service sector. What is elasticity of employment? We have discussed yesterday. Responsiveness of employment with respect to growth, right? So here on top of the numerator will be related to change in employment divided by change in growth, right? Change in employment to change in growth rate, right? This is what elasticity of employment that we have discussed yesterday. So why it is low? It is low because this is changing so fast, but this is not changing that fast. So the growth is high. Let's say we have seen yesterday examples. The growth is like 6, 7, etc. But here it's like 1%, 2%, etc. only, right? We have discussed this already yesterday. And I've told you, if you see service sector, growth is just like anything. It is just growing and the growth rate is so high. But in service sector, the employment contribution is so less. So that is what we have written here, low employment elasticity or low elasticity of employment in service sector. Basically, responsiveness to growth is less. Yeah, jobless growth. Yesterday we have discussed about jobless growth. Yes, exactly the same. Growth is there, job is not created, jobless growth. The technical word is what I'm saying, low elasticity of employment. That is what jobless growth. Jobless growth is normal understanding, but technical understanding is elasticity of employment is low. Jobless growth was also a mains question. Next one, adverse impact of MSMEs, especially after reform. Adverse impact of MSMEs, because MSMEs give more jobs. So adverse impact of MSMEs. Next, scarcity of capital. Scarcity of capital. Now you write government measures. Government measures I'll briefly discuss here, not in detail. In detail, we will see this in the developmental programs. And I have messaged you in WhatsApp group also that video. You can have a look into that. Otherwise, later I will discuss, but towards the end only I'll discuss all the developmental programs. Okay. So basically, you can give a heading government measures. So poverty alleviation, you can write there 1, poverty alleviation and employment generation program. Poverty alleviation and employment generation program. Poverty alleviation and employment generation program. Okay, you can write that. Under that A, there are 2 types, wage employment program. So A, you write wage employment program. Hyphen, you can write under these program, government initiate labor intensive public works, government initiate labor intensive public work like construction of rural roads, toilets, minor irrigation, etc. So what is the objective here in wage employment program? On one side, construction, right? Development of infrastructure plus job creation. Okay, so that is one. Now you can see examples like MGNREGA, EGA. Okay, then PMGSY, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, okay, etc. 1978 there was one program. All those things is not relevant now. Food for Work program, whatever is currently going on. If you see the textbooks now, you will see a lot of programs, but those are not required. What is currently going on is what is required for you. So there is no point in reading and studying all those. B, A was wage employment, B, self-employment. B, self-employment. So the definition is actually the government initiate labor-intensive public works. That's it. In case of wage employment, self-employment under these programs. See, the key point here is there will be training. There will be training, and then after the training, there will be finance. Okay, so that is the key point that you need to remember in self-employment. So you can write there under these programs, training is provided to unemployed people. Training is provided to unemployed people by the government agencies. By the government agencies or NGOs. So the training is provided by NGOs or government agencies. And finance is provided to enable them to engage in any viable economic activity. Training is provided and finance is provided. You can write in your language. Okay. Various schemes are there like Nai Manzil, Nai Roshni. Okay. All these we will discuss. Yeah, Nidesh, tell me.
Sir, self-help group.
SHG, sir.
You can tell now.
Self-help group.
Self-help group. Yeah, message me. No problem. Self-help group, yeah, coming. That is part of microfinance. We will discuss that. Self-help group also will be given training and training. But that's not self-employment. This is for individual. Okay, now other programs like Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarajgar Yojana, National Rural Livelihood Mission, like Ajivika, Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, all these we will discuss. Pradhan Mantri Employment Guarantee Program. So don't worry about these developmental programs, all we will discuss later. So that's the government measures. Then you can write second one, skill development programs. Skill development programs. Third one, increase in MSMEs. Fourth one, promoting entrepreneurship. Promoting entrepreneurship, like Adult Innovation Mission. We will discuss this, Adult Innovation Mission, Setu, self-employment and talent utilization. It's actually a part of Adult Innovation Mission only. Startup India is there, Stand Up India is there. All these we will discuss. In that video, everything is covered. You can just go and watch today itself. Everything, what all things I'm saying here, it is covered. So developmental measures is basically to solve the problem of, the problem of poverty and unemployment. Poverty is because of what? Poverty is because of unemployment. So the solution to unemployment is the solution to poverty also. So that's why I haven't discussed anything under poverty, the government measures. And why inequality? Inequality is also because of this problem of unemployment. So the solution for all these are the same that we are discussing now. And for everything, you can watch that video and you can fill this table, or towards the end, I'll discuss that anyway. Then you can write increase in growth, promote growth. All these are, then Make in India initiative. Make in India. All these are the government measures. So if the question is in GS, you need to write accordingly, because you need to write only 2 pages. But if you get any question related to unemployment, poverty, inequality, it is expected essay. Okay, unemployment, poverty, inequality is an essay question more than a GS question. So that's why I'm giving so much of content. Now I'm expecting that you're not as full of content. You will not face any problem in writing 1,000 words. It will be very easy for you to write in case of essay is asked. Okay, so we have done with this module. We'll start a new module tomorrow. Is this okay? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Can we stop here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So see you. I'll stop here.
You.
We'll see
Bye, sir.
tomorrow. Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir.
Yeah.